Federal Reserve is pushing ahead with a study on whether to implement its own digital currency, and they're going to release a paper shortly, according to Jerome Powell. Establishing a digital dollar has been on the Fed's radar for more than a year. Announced in May, it's launching a deeper examination. And Jerome Powell recently said that the test for a CBDC is, quote, are there clear and tangible benefits that outweigh any costs and risk? Which I think is a pretty fair way to evaluate it. Okay, we understand central bank digital currencies. For those that don't know what that is, it's essentially a digital token. So if you think dollars used to be in physical form, pieces of paper, we then move to today. When you go to the ATM or you look on your bank account online, dollars are not in paper form. It's not like the banks just got literally trillions of dollars sitting there. Instead, what they have is they have electronic CUSIPs that are in centralized databases. So inside of JP Morgan, they kind of keep track of all of the different things. Inside of Bank of America, they keep track of it all on a centralized ledger inside their business. Inside of Wells Fargo or First Republic or whatever. Then when these banks want to actually transact with each other, what they are doing is not actually sending the dollars around. What they're actually doing is they are simply just settling their books with each other, which is a little bit different. So a little nuance in terms of how that works, but it's called electronic CUSIP, CUSIP, and it's basically a file format that uses inside these centralized databases. Now, what they're talking about with the central bank digital currency is evolving or improving that technology to go from electronic CUSIPs to digital tokens. It's still a dollar. It's still the same monetary policy. Nothing changes. It's just a technology change. And so if you're evaluating creating a certain type of technology, if you say, hey, are there clear and tangible benefits that outweigh any costs and risks? I think that's a pretty good way to evaluate it. Now, Boston Fed is undertaking a multi-year research with the MIT to explore the technology that could be used for the CBDC, and the first phase of the research is expected soon. There's a whole bunch of other countries who have been playing around in this, trying to figure it out. We have a quote, I think, from Jerome Powell that is, I think, a pretty rational thought process here. He says, we think it's really important the central bank maintain a stable currency and payment systems for the public's benefit. That's one of our jobs. Completely agree, right? I think he nailed it here. And so obviously you wouldn't want to introduce a central bank digital currency if you weren't going to have a stable payment system or something like that. If you thought you could make it more stable or more dependable, then you absolutely would want to introduce it. And when you look at, we've got a map on a number of these countries. This map shows what other countries are doing. So about 5 countries around the world have launched central bank digital currencies, even if they're on a small scale. There's 14 pilots. 16 of them have developed them. 32 are researching them. 10 started it, but now are inactive. And then 2 canceled their plans for central bank digital currency. So kind of all over the map.
Shout out to Atlantic Council for that map right there. But yeah, look, the U.S. is almost falling behind on this, and I understand Jerome Powell kind of went back and forth with, should we be more aggressive about this, or do we want to sit back, see what happens, study it a little bit more, and make sure we do it right? I agree that it's more important to do it right than do it first, right? So other countries have already launched this. We've seen this in Japan, in the UK, all these other places. But we are falling behind. The 4 largest central banks, the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, and Bank of England, the U.S. is the furthest behind on the research and the deployment of a central bank digital currency. We got to hurry up.
I see a couple of people asking about why they were canceled, why people started doing it and then canceled it. I'm not sure. We can actually research why they ended up canceling it, but 2 of them did. And then the other piece of this too, I think, is really interesting. So my personal opinion is that every single fiat currency is going to end up being digitized, right? So we'll have a digital dollar, digital yuan, digital euro, digital yen, digital peso, et cetera. And it's less about changing the monetary policy. It's less about changing the actual structure of the currency. It's much, much more about changing the technology. And so if I said to you, hey, your currency is susceptible to hours of operation. You have to have, if you want to send large amounts, a wire. You have to call in by a certain time every day. Then it's going to take a day to settle, maybe 2 days, depending where you're sending it, the fee structure, et cetera. If all of a sudden I can put that in a much more advantageous position, say you still have dollars, but you're able to send it instantaneously, cheaper, you have access 24/7, 365, and the settlement time is much faster, then I think most people say, hey, look, I would love to go ahead and do that. It's just going to take some time, I think, for people to kind of wrap their heads around it. The other question that comes is, how are they going to build the technology? is the Federal Reserve, do they have the technical capabilities and appetite, right? Going and building this is pretty difficult. So do they have the capabilities and the appetite to build it, or will they simply partner with a private company or some sort of technology provider, whether it is to build internally a brand new CBDC, or would they just somehow kind of partner with one of the existing stablecoin providers and say, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this. We're going to choose you as the player here.
Yeah, I agree. This technology is very new, right? So in May 2020, about 35 countries were kind of exploring it and thinking about deploying it and all of that. Now, 81 countries that represent over 90% of the global GDP have gotten their feet wet, right, in this situation. But I think, I'm curious your thoughts. I think actually developing these currencies will do more control for the government and less privacy for the actual individuals.
I completely agree. That's the downside, in my opinion, is control. Right now, let's say that I want to see what's in your bank account. And I'm the government. I have to get like a FISA court or some sort of order, either freeze your assets, look at them,
so
etc.
they say.
Yeah, well, yeah. But in terms of the stable coins, they'd be able to see everything. And on top of that, the other piece of it ends up being that there's a really big issue around the privacy and the financial surveillance. So what happens if all of a sudden the rails say, hey, John, you drank too much coffee today. You can't buy that soda. You got to buy water. Okay, that's like pretty aggressive, extreme, example. What if all of a sudden they say, hey, John, actually, you know what? You can't ride the bus today. You got to walk. You haven't walked enough.
Well, someone said something relative like this in the chat is what if they start deciding who you are allowed and not allowed to do business with?
It's possible. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to go do that right away, but the fact that they have the ability, you can just see like it is an incentive to kind of continue to creep into those worlds. And that's scary stuff, right?
You think we create a central bank digital currency within the next 5 years?
I think that there will be a mass global adoption of stable coins within the next 3 years. Already, you could argue that people are starting to adopt it now. The question is going to be, does the United States create an official Fed coin, right, or central bank digital currency? I think they will end up creating one. 5 years, I think they will have decided to do it. They'll say, yes, we're going to do this. The big question is, how are they technically going to do it? Can they build it themselves? I don't know if they can get it built and launched in a 3 to 5 year period. But if they went and they just partnered with somebody who already built it, then it's possible. So I think that the obstacle is less about the decision to go ahead and do this. I think the obstacle is more about the technical kind of execution and actually getting it to the point where, remember, you not only have to serve the 330 million Americans, that use the dollar as their reserve currency, get paid in it, save in it, et cetera, but it's the global reserve currency. So you have to be able to use the dollar globally with all sorts of different technical complexities that are added. So look, it's a very, very difficult technical problem that I just don't think they could create in 6 months. What's up, guys? Bang, bang. A bunch of you want to bring that trillionaire energy every day? And if you want to do it in your financial life, go use SoFi. SoFi is our exclusive sponsor because we think they've got a great piece of software that'll help you accomplish your financial dreams. Go to SoFi.com/pomp today to get started. You can invest in everything from ETFs to individual stocks to cryptocurrencies to IPOs, and they even have an automated invest function. Head on over to SoFi.com/pomp today and make sure you come back tomorrow to watch more of the Best Business Show.